Business of the day, proclamation. Whereas the Western Australian State Council of YMCAs wishes to develop a project which will provide young persons with a state forum to express their views on matters of concern to them, provide the state government with bills which would express the concerns and expectations of youth and which could be acted upon by the government, and provide the opportunity for young persons to gain public speaking and debating skills and develop an interest in their own parliamentary system by being actually involved in the parliamentary process. And whereas the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the Honourable Grant Woodhams MLA, has graciously consented to the use of the Legislative Assembly chamber for this purpose. And whereas the President of the Legislative Council, the Honourable Barry House MLC, has graciously consented to the use of the Legislative Council chamber for this purpose. And whereas the Governor of Western Australia, His Excellency Ken Michael, has agreed to receive the bills passed by the Assembly. Now therefore I, Daniel Earl, on behalf of Her Excellency Stephanie Jackson, Youth Governor, representing His Excellency Dr. Ken Michael, representing Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, command the selected members of the YMCA Western Australian Youth Parliament to attend the Legislative Council and Legislative Assembly at Parliament House, situated in Harvest Terrace, Perth, on Monday the 6th of July at 8:30 a.m. for the purpose of carrying out such business in the YMCA Youth Parliament shall deem appropriate. Given under my hand on the 12th of June 2009, Mr. Daniel Earl, Acting Clerk of the Youth Parliament.
Okay guys, we'll just wait for the official party to arrive.
And when they arrive, you just have to stand.
How strict are we going to be with the timing? Since we don't have that many members.
It's going to be less strict than the Assembly.
Yeah.
A lot less strict, so you can, even if the thing starts ringing when the time is finished, you can still continue talking.
Yeah.
Within reason.
It depends on the speaker as well, the president.
Yeah.
Because they might cut you off.
Should we start?
So will they actually say to stop?
Yeah.
And like after they ring it up, they'll say.
But if they tell you to stop, can you just like, you don't have to, can you finish your sentence or something?
Oh,
Can't you request an extension of time?
Because the time's already finished, so.
Right.
Okay guys, the official order has just walked past, so it shouldn't be too long.
Honourable Members, the Governor.
I direct the Usher of the Black Rod to acquaint the Legislative Assembly members that their presence is desired in the Legislative Council chamber. can talk, guys. Oh, never mind then. I'm going to probably pull rank. I now request that the Premier of Western Australia, the Honourable Colin Barnett, Member of the Legislative Assembly, now open the 14th YMCA Western Australian Youth Parliament and address the youth members of the Parliament.
Good morning. Now, I've got some people's lunch. Excuse me for having to read this a little bit, but could I acknowledge the Youth Governor, Ms Stephanie Jackson, to Zach Cole, who is the Youth Premier and Member for Swan Hills, Chad Satterley, who is the Youth Leader of the Opposition and Youth Member for Perth, Dylan Caporn, the Youth Leader of the Government and Youth Member for North Metropolitan. Could I also acknowledge Ron Mell, the Chief Executive Officer of YMCA, and to Paul Duff, the Chief Executive Officer of Sky West, and I thank them for their support in making this Youth Parliament possible. Can I welcome you to the Parliament of Western Australia? In this Parliament and its predecessor since 1890, all of the major decisions that affect Western Australia have been made. Decisions on health, on education, on environment, on economic development, on social policy, and the Parliament is also a record of the history of this state, its economic, social and its political history. There is barely an event that would have happened in Western Australia since 1890 that is not recorded in the Hansard record of this Parliament, whether it be in the lower house, the Legislative Assembly, or this house, the Legislative Council. As you will see from the chamber, you are lined up basically on opposite sides, like an AFL grand final. And that is part of the Westminster system of Parliament. It is by design adversarial. One side, on that side of the chamber, is the side that happens to be in government. The other side, the other team, is in opposition. Their job is to challenge, to question every piece of legislation, to hold the government and hold ministers of the Crown to account. It is out of that system, which is adversarial and leads to heated debate, even argument, sometimes bad behaviour. It is that out of which our laws come and out of which good government come. So it's a process of one side earning the right through being democratically elected to be members and, if in a majority, to govern, and the other side elected democratically but find themselves in opposition to challenge and to meet. You'll see times where, obviously if you're television coverage of parliaments, where there is fairly hectic debate. Usually that's during a question time period. Most of the other time, probably 90% of the time, is spent in detail going through legislation or debating points of importance, public policy, or important points of principle. Most members of Parliament work hard. And indeed, as members of Parliament, as you will now be for the next few days, you already have differing jobs. All of you are a member, either a lower house or an upper house member. So you have a constituency. Your first job and your highest job is to serve your constituents, to meet them in your electorate, to hear about their problems, to hear about their aspirations, to sort out issues, to deal with local government, to find someone housing, to get someone's elderly parent into hospital when they need to. And it is quite remarkable what you can do as an individual member of Parliament in helping and serving the people who elect you. All of us, from the Premier down, are responsible to our electorate. So that's the first job. The second job you have, and all of you have this job, is to be a legislator, a parliamentarian, to be in this House, to be debating legislation and to work hard. And at any one time there might be 15 bills at various stages through the Parliament. You need to know what they are, you need to understand them, you need to talk to interest groups, you need to sometimes examine your own conscience as to how you will approach that bill, how you will vote. So everyone's got that job. Then, particularly if you're a member of one of the major parties, Liberal, Labor, Greens, National Party, you'll find you have jobs within the party. You'll be leader of the parliamentary party, might be a deputy leader, you deal with branches, members of organisations, so there's a political party role. And then if you find yourself in government, you may also be a minister. You might be a Minister for Education, or as the Honourable Donna Farragut, sitting behind me here, is the Minister for Environment and Youth. So you have an executive responsibility outside of Parliament. You have responsibility for the Public Service Department, for the policies and for the expenditure of taxpayers' money, and for upholding and enforcing the laws of the land. So it's a whole new role in addition to your parliamentary and local member role. And if you're in opposition, you may be a shadow minister, trying to sort of parallel, take that minister to account in that role. So the jobs are mounting. If you find yourself being a party leader, you might find yourself being Premier, job I happen to be doing at the moment, or you might find yourself as an opposition leader, which means you have an overarching responsibility as Premier for everything that happens in Western Australia, and you also find yourself now to be a member of the Council of Australian Governments with the Prime Minister and every other state Premier. So the jobs keep building up and up and up as you go through your political career. But even if you get to become Premier, you still are, as I am, the member for Cottesloe, still answerable to your local electorate, your local constituents. And the other thing that you all have in common now as members of Parliament is that you are all public figures. Everything you do, 24/7, is accountable. And you can't say, I mucked up, I stuffed something up, but that was in my private life, that was separate from my public life. There is no distinction. You are public figures 24/7. It doesn't mean that your brothers and sisters, your mothers and fathers, your wives or husbands are public figures, but they can get drawn in. So you can expect to be accountable, on show, measured and recorded for everything you say and do. And that is a dimension that most people, often when they come into Parliament, don't appreciate. You'll spend a lot of your career as members of Parliament talking to the media, and as you go up the various levels of parliamentary life, so the media exposure gets greater. I would estimate I probably spend a third of my time on issues related to the media in one way or another. The Prime Minister would be the same, probably more. You'll travel a lot. People will say, that's great, we get to travel a lot. Yep, the first couple of trips overseas are great, then diminishing returns set in. It's hard work. So, taking on a job of becoming a Member of Parliament, you have to be prepared to be totally committed to what you believe in. You have to be prepared to answer to constituents, usually to political party members, usually to party leaders and the wider community. You have to be on your guard, and you have to be honest, and you have to be prepared to work hard. People who succeed in Parliament and political careers generally have two things in common. One, they're usually very intelligent. Two, and probably more important, they work extraordinarily hard. And probably three, they're invariably honest. Very few people that don't have good values succeed, no matter which side or party in politics they come from. So I hope you enjoy these next few days, couple of days or so, and I hope you think about what it is to take on that role of being a representative, whether it's in Parliament, or whether it's in the local sporting or arts group, or in a school, or in a university or TAFE. And I'd encourage you to do that. I'd encourage you to stand for positions and take on leadership and assume responsibility. You are all here because you've been recognised as outstanding young people, people who've got the potential to move on, succeed in their life, their careers, and when the time is right, to take up positions of leadership and responsibility. So my one little piece of gratuitous advice to you throughout your career, whichever path you might take, when a door opens, be brave enough to walk through it. And if you do that, you will succeed. So I hope you enjoy the experience. I thank the Parliament and the sponsors and supporters of this, and I'm delighted to formally declare open the 14th YMCA Youth Parliament. Enjoy the experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Premier. I would like to begin this morning by welcoming our youth parliamentarians to the Council and to the Parliament, and to acknowledge the Noongar people as the traditional custodians of the land we stand upon today. I thank the Honourable Grant Williams, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, and the Honourable Barry House, President of the Legislative Council, for the kind use of their chambers over the coming days on behalf of the Youth Parliament Task Force. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to the Honourable Colin Barnett, Premier of Western Australia, the Honourable Donna Farragher, Minister for Youth, Mr Ron Mell, the CEO of the YMCA Perth, other dignified guests, and the cadets of the Navy, Army, Air Force and Police who today form our aide-de-camp and Youth Premier Security Guard. As Western Australia's Youth Governor, representing our gracious Queen, I have been selected to represent each young person in Western Australia, a position that humbles me greatly. As youth parliamentarians, you have been selected to represent the young people of your electorates, and you should also feel a great sense of pride at this achievement. The Youth Parliament experience is about learning about youth issues, about speaking and debate, and about how to push for change. Look around this chamber. The diversity we can see is one of the core strengths of the program. It allows members, task force and observers of the program to learn a great amount. We have members from all walks of life, urban and regional, public and private schooled, Indigenous people, migrants, parents, those who study, those who work, and members who fit onto every segment of the political spectrum. I implore members to make the most of this. The amount that we can learn from each other is both astounding and invaluable. Every member in this chamber has their own ideas about particular youth issues, shaped by their personal experiences and perspectives. We should also keep in mind that this is the case throughout the community also. This is the cornerstone of our democracy. Everyone deserves to have their voice heard by those who make the decisions. Every young person in Australia and Western Australia has ideas about our society, and this is another resource that should not be forgotten in decision-making at any government level. Each Western Australian youth has an outlook on education, the environment, the legal system, and so many more issues. Those of us here today are not an exception, we represent the rule. As representatives of Western Australian youth, it is up to us to encourage those in both positions of power and in the wider community that the perspectives of youth are valuable, constructive, and deserve to be considered. It is regrettable that we may have to overcome media stereotypes of recklessness and irresponsibility, but we know that we can contribute positively to society, and we both can and will prove it. In the words of Helen Keller, a woman who overcame her deafness and blindness to become a prominent social activist in the first half of the 20th century, it is not possible for civilization to flow backwards while there is youth in the world. Youth may be headstrong, but it will advance its allotted length. So I encourage members to take the skills and ideas that they learned during this week back to their own communities and to influence decision making. Groups such as youth advisory councils and political movements, local, state and federal government committees, creation of posters, flyers and talking to local members of parliament all provide avenues to push for change. And if these opportunities don't exist in your community, then create them. I'm sure that Helen Keller would agree that this is the beauty of youth, our drive to create the means for change around us. If you're passionate about an issue, don't let a lack of structures stop you from being heard. The issues that you're going to discuss in this chamber and the Assembly during this week are far too important to just let lie. Learn from your training, as well as these debates and experiences, and use them as a platform to push for change. As you all know, we will inherit this world, and so it is imperative that we play a role in shaping it. I would now like to hand over to the Minister for Youth to address the members.
Thank you, and to the Honourable Colin Barnett, Premier of Western Australia, to the Youth Governor, Stephanie Jackson, our Youth Premier, Zach Cole, and Ron Mill, Chief Executive Officer of the YMCA. Like the Premier, I am very pleased to be here today for the opening of the 14th Western Australian Youth Parliament. Sitting in this parliamentary chamber and the Legislative Assembly, following the standing orders and rules of debate, you will be presenting your case on a wide variety of issues, from the environment, child protection and law and order. Your respective cases will be debated and challenged. You will win some and you will lose some. As Minister for Youth, can I encourage you all over the next couple of days to voice your opinion, to strongly debate your ideas, but most importantly, to respect the different views that will no doubt be expressed by members. The YMCA Youth Parliament provides you all with the opportunity to get a real taste of our system of government and the importance of our parliamentary democracy. As the Premier has mentioned, it should never be lost on anyone that the decisions made in these chambers have a significant effect on the lives of all Western Australians, whether it relates to budget decisions or changes in criminal law. Forums like this also enable young people who might not otherwise have the opportunity to stand out. I'm sure that amongst all of you, there are potential leaders of the future. As Youth Minister, can I encourage you all to make the most of the opportunities that come your way in life? If I look back, never would I have dreamed when I left school or even when I was at university that I would become a Member of Parliament at the age of 29 and a Minister at the age of 33. And whether you want to be a Member of Parliament, a leader in business, or whatever field you might have an interest in, always remember, and the Premier has also said this, that the most successful in this world of ours are those with commitment, energy, good sense, optimism, and principle. Inevitably, you will all make choices, and no doubt you will face challenges and difficulties along the way. But if you always hold true to your values, then I have no doubt, and the government has no doubt, that you will all succeed. I'm aware that many of you have travelled long distances to participate in this Youth Parliament, and I commend you for your interest and dedication. I look forward to seeing the outcome of the bills that you are debating, particularly those arising from the Select Committee on Youth Affairs. Can I encourage you to take your role very seriously? This is a wonderful opportunity for you all. I wish you all the very best in your debates, and most importantly, have some fun. Congratulations on being involved in the youth arena at this level, and once again, I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing you over the next couple of days for Youth Parliament 2009. Thank you.
I now request that the Youth Premier of Western Australia, the Honourable Zach Cole, Youth Member of the Legislative Assembly, and Youth Opposition Leader, Chad Satterley, Youth Member of the Legislative Assembly, come forward and take an oath of office on behalf of the Youth Government and Youth Opposition. Mr. Cole.
I swear by Almighty God that I, Zach Elliott Cole, on behalf of the Youth Government of Western Australia, will well and truly serve Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law, in the office of Youth Premier of Western Australia, and I will do right to all manner of people after the laws and usages of the state of Western Australia, without fear or favour, affection or ill will, so help me God.
Thank you. I swear, according to the religion and beliefs I profess, that I, Chad Roderick Satterley, on behalf of the Western Australian Youth Opposition of Western Australia, will well and truly serve the people of Western Australia in the office of Youth Opposition Leader of Western Australia. And I will do right to all manner of people after the laws and usages of the state of Western Australia, without fear or favour, affection or ill will. Pen.
I now request that Mr. Ron Mell, CEO of the YMCA Perth, address the members.
Premier, the Honourable Colin Barnett, MLA, Minister for Youth, the Honourable Donna Farrago, MLC, Youth Governor, Her Excellency Stephanie Jackson, Australian Defence Force cadets, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to our youth delegates and to this, the 2009 YMCA Youth Parliament program. The YMCA's mission is to work from a base of Christian values to provide opportunities for people to grow in body, mind and spirit. And YMCA Perth's vision is to enrich Western Australian communities. And today, the fulfilment of that mission and vision is evident in this Parliament, with 82 youth delegates and many other volunteers participating in this, the 14th Annual Youth Parliament. The first part of our mission is to build strong people, and I can assure delegates that your body will be well and truly tested by the end of this program, because a Youth Parliament program is not just writing and debating bills. There's a little bit of physical exercise and testing as well. Secondly, in providing opportunity for people to grow in body, mind and spirit, YMCA provides the opportunity for you to develop your mind, and you will have an opportunity to grow through the challenges of debate and through the richness that will come from the many conversations that you will have over the course of the coming week. And thirdly, in our mission to provide opportunities for people to grow in body, mind and spirit, YMCA provides an opportunity to grow in spirit. That doesn't mean that there is a religious context to this program, but it does mean that you will gain a greater understanding of your own self and of others. You will undoubtedly develop new friendships, and your work on the bills will in some way contribute to a better Western Australian community. That is what is meant by an opportunity to grow in spirit. And finally, you have the opportunity to enrich your community. When you return to your community, and today we have representatives from every electoral region, you will have a greater understanding of the workings of Parliament and how Parliament can enrich and enhance your community. You will even have enough knowledge to consider a career in this Parliament, and I would encourage you to consider that. In 2005, a report was issued by the Australian Electoral Commission into trends relating to young people within the democratic process. In a report entitled Australia's Democratic Report Card, Young People Assess Democracy in Australia, it was noted that many young Australians were active and engaged politically, and of course today there is great evidence of that. But nevertheless, there was a lack of faith and trust in the ballot box. And if you feel that way, here is a great opportunity for you to do something about it. It was also noted in that report that young people consider that it is a two-way street, and that government and political parties should also do more to encourage the democratic process amongst young people. In Western Australia, YMCA Perth has always had an excellent relationship with government of either political persuasion, and that is no different with Mr Barnett's government today. This is the first time in many years that a Premier has opened our youth parliament, and that in itself is testimony to the value this government places on encouraging your understanding and participation in this great democracy. The government, of course, includes both our political leaders and our bureaucracy, and government departments work under the direction of their ministers. The Office of Youth within the West Australian Government supports Youth Parliament and has done so again this year, and the YMCA is appreciative of the support that the Office for Youth has provided. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Speaker and members of the House who allow us to use these facilities, the staff at Parliament House who support our young people so much during this period, and the members who have taken time to support the program through their presence today and over the coming few days. Finally, delegates, please don't see this program as simply an educational tool or a debating class or simply a way to meet new friends. It's all of that, but it is more. It is a way to develop your leadership skills, both within the group, but more long-term within your community. Bill Gates said, as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. You have an opportunity to empower others through what you have learnt in the months leading up to this final week and the once-in-a-lifetime experiences offered to you this week, here in this magnificent place. Use this time wisely, and most importantly, have fun.
Thank you, Mr Mell. I now move that this House do adjourn until such time with the ringing of the bells. Refreshments will be made available in the Aboriginal People's Room. Thank you and good morning.
The Honourable Dylan Capehorn and Honourable Members of the Council. I rise before you today in order to announce that the West Australian Government...
I'll just call you to order. I have a motion that has to be moved to have it as a matter of public interest. So the sponsor needs to move a motion for the matter of public interest.
apologise. I move before you today in order to announce that the West Australian Government will initiate the ideal of a nuclear power system as a prototype for power consumption in the state.
Okay, you can sit down. The question is that the House moves, and then you get to debate it. The question is the House moves to a matter of public interest. All those of the opinion say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it, and the question is that the motion, and I call the sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise before you today in order to announce that the West Australian Government will initiate the idea of a nuclear power system as a prototype for power consumption in the state. The debate stemming from this is essentially self-explanatory, where different sectors of society rate the severity of positive and negative long and short-term effects of having energy being generated from a nuclear source. Now, Madam President, we understand that this is a very controversial issue due to its prominent negative prejudice, but let me first draw your attention to its positive aspects. Madam President, Australia is the world's biggest source for uranium. 23% of the world's recoverable uranium can be found in Australian soils. And as a nation, we export this uranium to countries such as the United States, the European Union and Japan. Why should we be exporting to a resource that gives us opportunities for more jobs and cleaner energy sources? The answer is we shouldn't. We shouldn't be exporting Australia's entire supply of uranium to other countries when in our time of need, a time where our nation is facing some of the highest unemployment figures we have seen in a decade, shouldn't we consider the idea of a nuclear power as a way of increasing jobs, not just in mining, but also in a variety of other industries? Madam President, by adopting a nuclear power industry, we also commit to an environmentally cleaner source by committing to a resource that emits less than 5% of that of coal. In today's society, where the federal government is trying to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions as a nation through trading schemes and a failed solar panel rebate scheme, shouldn't we discuss the ideal of a nuclear power as one of the cleanest sources for energy and power? We understand that there are questions raised about the dangers appearing with nuclear power, and the one on the top of the list is security. Now, I know that there has been several problems with nuclear power stations in the last 2 decades. However, Madam President, I highlight the fact that it has been over 20 years since the most infamous incident at Chernobyl, which is, as I'm sure all members will note, a true tragedy. However, it must be noted that the fear of a Chernobyl-related incident is now an absurd and ludicrous suggestion, as for any person to suggest that the fears of Chernobyl are a reason to prevent nuclear power are ignorant to the great innovation and advancement of nuclear technology that has occurred over the past 2 decades that furthers the security.
Excuse me. I have the proceedings I have before me today, and I beg your attention to this, is that it's a maximum of 1 minute. I've given leniency so far, so I would ask that you start to wrap up your opening so that the matter can be put and debated.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like to clarify that this is not a permanent solution. While we understand that we must adopt a cleaner source of energy, we must not be seen as burning more and more emissions. We need to have an alternative, clean and viable source of power while we experiment, improve and advance green technology. And Madam President, nuclear power is the alternative, the clean and the viable solution. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. The question is that the matter be agreed to. I'm waiting for someone to stand. South Metropolitan, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Lewis Richards. First, I'd like to thank the Leader of the Government for bringing up this MPI. It's an important issue. Now, as the devastation of climate change and global warming becomes more apparent, the search for a sustainable alternative to fossil fuels is gathering momentum. We have wind, solar, geothermal, we have wave. However, nuclear power has been billed as the short-term alternative. But although the waste produced is highly hazardous, it can be safely contained. Now, nuclear power is a sufficient alternative to fossil fuels. It has an effective efficiency rating and will be able to produce a similar output to fossil fuels. Now, people may relate to Chernobyl, as the Leader of the Opposition Government said, and the damage caused there. But what people do not know is that the nuclear station was over capacity, running treble its maximum, and it had a safety check for months. So the key for me is that the profits of the state must be used to find a cleaner, sustainable alternative so the actual waste collected cannot be prolonged and minimised.
The question is that the matter be agreed to.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Michael Bovell. While nuclear electricity generation entails no direct emissions of carbon or any other greenhouse gases, the nuclear fuel cycle does in fact release carbon. This is because of the considerable fossil fuels use during mining, fuel enrichment, manufacture and plant construction. Future nuclear systems could achieve lower emissions with development although as demand for uranium grew, carbon emissions would again rise as uranium ore grades declined. Nuclear power is a dangerous energy source, not only in the issue of storing radioactive waste, but in the history and continuing potential for radioactive contamination by accident or sabotage, and the history and continuing possibility of nuclear proliferation. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for the Minister for Child Protection, Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. Nuclear. What connotations does this word have? Danger, bomb, explosion, death, devastation. So yeah, sure, let's build a nuclear power plant. Sounds like a great idea. Uranium mines may aim for zero emission of pollutants and nuclear power, but this still leaves dangerous waste products and the question of what to do with them. I know the argument that Chernobyl, which was a devastating thing, happened 20 years ago and therefore of course it can't happen again. But it can happen again. World War I ended in 1919 and some thought it would never happen again, but 20 years later, World War II started. A nuclear power plant cannot be up and running within 15 years. Would it not make more sense for us to spend time, money and research on developing the already up and running methods of safely and effectively making electricity from clean, natural, renewable wind farms, solar power and wave power? They already work. There's an efficient wind farm in Albany where I come from. It has no waste products and no danger for human life or the environment. It is silent, it is clean, natural and forever renewable. Australia is the sunburnt country. We have wide open spaces and lots of sun. Shouldn't we not harvest solar power? I know these methods do not currently produce as much electricity as nuclear stations, but in 15 years we could easily improve them to be competitive, instead of spending 15 years and money building a nuclear power plant. Coal power was seen as an incredible invention in the Industrial Revolution. And back then, they would never have thought that in 2009 it would be running out, be causing these problems and be polluting the atmosphere. And the same thing in 100 or 500 years will happen with uranium if we don't blow ourselves up first.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. And the member for East Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Vladimir Mek. The Honourable Member for South West brought up an interesting point in terms of the danger of nuclear power and how the connotations brought up are bombs and death and whatnot. What is outlined here is a general hysteria about nuclear power. There are such stringent security protocols that go into nuclear in terms of the transportation of the fuel, the waste, and even when it's in the reactor. And nuclear proliferation is a very small factor. Not only that, but we have France, which is 77% nuclear powered. There hasn't been a Chernobyl in France, forever really. There's also nuclear power provides 15% of the world's electricity. It's already there. We don't hear about nuclear meltdowns every day in the news. We also have the issue of the fact that Australia has the largest uranium supply in the world. We're not doing anything with it. We need to harvest. We need renewable energy sources such as wind and solar are only about 15% efficient at the moment. Nuclear technology has been around for 50 odd years or so. It's tried and true. We know what it does. We know how to harvest it. This is why we should have nuclear power, because at the moment it's the only viable solution that we really have.
The question is the matter be agreed to. Member for East Metropolitan.
Madam President, Honourable Lou Kellery, I think that nuclear power could actually be a viable alternative, provided it's done the right way. Everyone fears the Chernobyl case, but it is well known that the Russians did not abide to the safety standards set at the day. Since then, the standards have been further raised. If Australia established a nuclear power industry, we would encourage they meet these standards and beyond, and there should be no fear of any Chernobyl of Australia. The power, we have a desert that is not in use in the middle of our country.
Exactly.
Is that not a good place to store the nuclear waste? The fact is, all these natural alternatives, such as solar power, are not efficient. There is too much waste, and there is nowhere near the energy supplied as nuclear fission. There is so much uranium here, and it would be a waste to let it go to waste. Thanks.
The question is, the matter be agreed to. The member for South West.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Michael Bovell.
Yeah.
Even a massive worldwide nuclear power program, sustained over a period of several decades, could not solve the greenhouse problem. Even if it could, the Third World cannot support a major expansion of nuclear power on the scale that would be required in an attempted nuclear solution to greenhouse warming. The key to improve future climatic warming caused by the combustion of fossil fuels is to improve the efficiency of energy usage. Improving electrical energy efficiency is nearly 7 times more cost-effective than nuclear power for reducing emissions. Energy efficiency measures alone could cost-effectively reduce household energy consumption in Australia by 20 to 30%. End-use efficiency is the single most important technological factor determining future energy consumption levels. 65% of emissions come from transport, landfill, industrial and agricultural processes and land clearing. The government is devoting all this attention to just 35% of the problem of energy production.
The member for Mining and Pastoral.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Luke Kovac. It was mentioned that there is a large, vast nothingness in the middle of Australia that could be used to store nuclear waste. Would it not make more sense to use this mass amount of space for, say, a renewable resource such as solar panel? If we were to put all this nuclear waste in this area, this would then cut us off in the future when we do run out of nuclear material to use, to harvest. We then wouldn't be able to use that area for solar panels, for solar power, a renewable resource. It would.
The member has the floor. Question is, the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Dylan Capel. I'd like to point out to the member to South West that it is not economically viable to cover the deserts with solar panels simply to power a couple of light bulbs and a plasma TV. No, I'm simply saying that it's not at the moment economically viable for the desert to be covered in solar panels simply to...
Yeah, instead of nuclear power.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
That's all right. Interjections. The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for South Metropolitan, Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Lewis Richards. First state that these are good arguments. I'm very proud that we are coming up with these arguments. However, for my personal opinion, nuclear power probably is the best way to produce the best alternative to coal at the current moment, Madam President. But over time, we have to use the profits, we have to research and development these other sustainable and more cleaner ways. For example, a nice little fact for Western Australia, there are more solar panels in Scotland than in Australia. Scotland, the wintry, the temperatures hardly ever get above 20. And Australia, where I can definitely say the sun is pretty extreme from my skin. So, for the current moment, probably nuclear power is probably the best way. However, it goes, we can't prolong it. If it's going to be a nuclear power energy in Western Australia, it has to be very short term, so then we can produce and make sure that these other factors such as wind, solar, geothermal, wave are efficient enough to replace the coal and fossil fuels at the moment, because at the moment they are not efficient enough. That's why we need research and development, and this is what the profits from the nuclear power can do, Madam President, to help it become sufficient.
The question is, the matter be agreed to? Oh, the member for East Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Vlad Lemake. We have this argument where fossil fuels will not last for very much longer. We have to find a viable alternative, and quite frankly, nuclear power, which has been a tried and tested science for over 50 years, is there and it's waiting to be harvested. We have the uranium, we have the resources, and the energy expenditure that goes into processing mining the materials is far outweighed by the energy output and the electricity output of these nuclear power plants. Furthermore, we cannot rely on, for instance, foreign fuel and foreign oil. We've seen what that's done with what's happened in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Middle East. We have to find something. We already have, solar, wind. It's 10-15% efficient at the moment. It might be greater in the 10-15 years, but we have something now that we can implement now, and we should implement it as soon as possible. It is the only truly viable option at the moment.
The question is, the matter be agreed to? The member for South Metropolitan, Opposition Whip.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Lauren Goodhart. The main question I have running around in my head is, what are we going to do with this waste? I mean, there's so much of it. If you take The Simpsons, for example, it's in green containers, it's glowing, and it hurts people. It's bad for the environment. So we can't really say that nuclear power is any better than what we've got now, because it's got all that waste. So why not spend 15 years researching something to do with this waste? Why not try and make it fuel for our cars, or something that's useful, rather than just dumping it in the middle of Australia? That's not going to fix anything.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan.
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Lou Kellery. I'd like to point out that there seems to be two sort of sways. One is, how will we look to future renewable energy sources? But on the other hand, we're stuck with fossil fuels. The thing about nuclear power is it is the link between the two. I ask any member this: what is going to power the research into renewable resources? They are not efficient now. That is a fact. So the question is, yes, they are getting more efficient, but they are not efficient now. So between now and when they are efficient, something needs to power it. The coal cannot power it. It is already putting a hole in the ozone layer. What is the hole in the ozone going to do? Is it going to give you more sunlight for the solar panels? No, it is wrong. The fossil fuels, must stop, and renewable energy sources cannot stop this currently. In the future, yes. I believe that if done correctly, we can correctly dispose the waste, correctly put the procedures in place so that there is no Chernobyl, and nuclear power can fund and power the way to the renewable energy sources. Thank you.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for Mining and Pastoral, the Honourable Rachel Moles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Rachel Moles. Nuclear energy is a massive step towards cleaner energy sources that we can take now, while other research goes into alternate sources.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan, the Honourable Vlad Lemake.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Vlad Lemake. A couple of members have brought up the notion of storage of waste. It's an easy solution. We have something called the CSIRO actually invented this. It's called SynRock. It's an Australian invention. It's a way of petrifying waste, nuclear waste, to such an extent where there is almost negligible radioactive emissions, if you'd like to call it that. The storage procedures that are in place for the storage of waste, we have these bunkers that are concrete, lead-lined, over and over again, not just once, not just twice, thrice, perhaps even more, underground, away from suburbs. You drop a nuclear bomb on the place, the waste wouldn't spill out. There's been so much care and resources spent and invested into the storage of waste. It's there, it's a viable solution. This waste isn't spilling out into greenlands and wetlands and that sort of thing. Nuclear power just seems to is the most sensible option.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Sophie Burke.
Madam President, Honourable Sophie Burke. Nuclear power is cleaner and it reduces the acceleration of the greenhouse effect, like fossil fuels do. Fossil fuels use a lot more energy to chemically filtrate, like you don't have to do with uranium. And there's already been put enough research in to show that fossil fuels will create more energy and be a better economic investment than sources like solar power will be. So why not use the desert to put the waste in rather than solar panels?
The question is that the matter be agreed to. There are no more speakers to the motion. The Honourable Member for South West, Honourable Michael Bovell.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Michael Bovell. I refer to the statement from the member of East Metropolitan. In the absence of a proven viable solution, expanding the rate of waste production is just irresponsible. This is a huge technical challenge to develop systems that will isolate high-level waste for over 200,000 years. We're talking about a timescale around 100 times longer than any human societies have endured, of the same order of magnitude as our entire existence as a species. I also refer to the Honourable Leader's statement as where a nuclear power system or industry will lead to extra jobs. The current electricity generating industry containing coal contains many more thousands of jobs in mining and generating than what a nuclear power industry would provide.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable, the Member for South West, the Honourable Ian Gartlett.
Madam President, the Honourable Ian Gartlett. If this is to go ahead, you must think of benefits such as low emissions and think of how this will benefit the wider community as a whole, and not think of such negatives in a broader sense.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Amy Leather-Sitch, the Member for North Metropolitan.
Madam President, the Honourable Amy Leather-Sitch. Global warming is increasing at a rapid rate, like it's getting so much worse. And so we can't keep using fossil fuels, we need to do something about it now. And though nuclear power can't be used as a long-term solution, it is cleaner, much cleaner than coal, but we can use it because we won't think how much the rate that global warming is getting worse. We can't afford to spend any more time using coal, and in the time that it takes to research into renewable sources such as wind and solar, we are still going to have to keep burning coal. So if we swap to nuclear power or try and substitute in some nuclear power, then we can use that energy to support and fund research into renewable sources that we can then use in future years.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Leader of Government, Member in North Metropolitan, Honourable Dylan Capehorn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam President,
Sorry.
the Honourable Dylan Capehorn. I would like to reiterate the fact that this is not a permanent solution. We're not going to be living with nuclear power or three-eyed babies for the rest of, the world's history. We're going to be, while the nuclear power is in place, there will be research conducted into areas like geothermal, wind and solar panels to improve the power system. But we need a viable situation now where nuclear power is the only viable situation where we can grab our power from.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for the East Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Bladder Lamake. The Honourable Member for North Metropolitan brought up an interesting point and a quite true point. What we're doing, we're not suggesting that nuclear power plants, scattered across the landscape, they're not going to replace. They're not going to become the definite or the dominant method of producing energy. We are just suggesting that we must relieve the reliance on fossil fuels and foreign oil. It's not going to last. I mean, it's already caused conflicts. It will cause conflicts in the future. We need to do something now. Nuclear power is it's one of the most viable options that we have.
The question is the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for East Metropolitan, Luke Ellery.
Luke Ellery. Some members have pointed out the economic side of this. The Honourable Member opposite pointed out that workers would be lost. But I'd like to point out there is way more workers being used in nuclear power than there would be in setting up a solar windmill, in setting up a solar panel. Apart from the installation, what workers would be required using solar power? This is not economical. It is not economical to let uranium sit and go to waste as we export it to other countries. It is not economical to cover the desert with solar panels. It will not work. We need a bridge, and something has to give. It cannot be the environment. It has taken too many hits.
Exactly.
Right now, we need to cut greenhouse emissions, and the renewable energy sources currently do not have the efficiency to do so. We also need to get rid of this fear of radiation. The Honourable Member opposite pointed out that life is like The Simpsons. It isn't. There is no green gloop going about the place. There is research. It has been around for 50 years. People know what they are doing. It will be taken care of, and it will be done properly. Thank you.
The question is the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for South West, the Honourable Mike Goff. Mitchell, sorry. Goff.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Mitchell Goff. To begin with, although I do agree with the basic principle of why we should use nuclear power in the midterm, I would strongly suggest and advise that it should only be a midterm solution, and that we do not continue with nuclear power just for the convenience of pulling a rock out of the ground. Thank you.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan, Honourable, I can't say your last name, Renia Blignart. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Josh Blino. I honestly believe if a country such as Czechoslovakia can run 6 nuclear power plants, and India can run 17 without a major incident, that a country such as Australia can definitely run nuclear power plants. Thank you.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for Honourable Member for Agriculture, the Honourable Sinead Newman.
Madam President, the Honourable Sinead Newman. I have to wonder what would happen to Australia's industry in coal and other energy sources if we switch to nuclear power.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for South West, Minister for Child Protection, the Honourable Ms Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. We shouldn't waste millions of dollars and 15 years researching and getting a nuclear power station up and running when you're even saying yourselves it's only a mid-term solution before we move to natural resources to produce energy, electricity. We should start researching them right now, not spend all these millions of dollars researching something that we're only going to have for a little while, and then like coal, we'll need to switch to something else. It's stupid. And I don't know where the certain honourable member got her information, but I really don't think that nuclear power is a better economic solution when it costs millions of dollars, 15 years at least to develop. It's not 15 years to develop. It's not the only viable source, and it can't be ready now, as you keep saying. It can only be ready at a minimum of 15 years. But renewable natural sources are viable. they will never run out, and they can be used right now because they are currently being used right now. They just need to be researched to become more effective. I just don't know why would we consider nuclear power when it has that danger. It has the fact of radiation waste, whether it's a danger or not. There's the radiation waste, you have to where to put it. Why would you consider that when you've got these renewable sources which are up and running, which are clean and renewable and can be used now, and they're safe with no danger whatsoever and no waste products? It's a fact that 15 years is the minimum, and I just don't see why we would spend 15 years researching something that we're then going to stop using. And we are not suggesting filling up the desert with solar panels, just as you say you're not suggesting filling it up with nuclear power waste. We need to keep the desert sort of free and safe to be able to live in, because if Australia's immigration rates continue at the rate that they're increasing, we're going to have to live in the desert, and we can't do that if you're storing nuclear radiation waste there.
The member has the floor.
That we would be able to have these natural resources, if we research them, we wouldn't have to fill the desert full of solar panels. They could become more effective, so there would have to be less space to create more power. It's already developed, they already work, and there's no danger.
The question is the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan, the Honourable Luke Ellery.
There's been several questions raised. One is the matter of increasing population. That is, again, another point. The fact is, for one, we will not be immigrating to the desert. I don't think any immigrant, wherever they come from, will immigrate to live in the middle of the desert with our big boomers. Also,
that's in the middle of the desert and it's expanding.
That's different. There's a mine, there's a town. We're not shoving nuclear waste where there's a town. We are not stupid. I would like to also point out that other people have said, what has happened to the coal industry? What about other countries that still use coal? We are a member of the G20. We are one of the richest countries. We should be taking the first step, and that step is nuclear power. We will still continue to provide the underdeveloped nations with coal. Our industry will not suffer. But nuclear power is a step in the right direction. Everyone is talking about the now. It has to be the now. Nuclear power is the now, and the renewable energy is the future. No. It is something to look forward to. That's all.
The question is the matter be agreed to. I'll go this way first. The member for South West, the Honourable Mitchell Goff.
Thank you, Madam President.
Sorry, can I just say the best way to do this is when you rise, what you say is Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, or Ms. President in this case, and that'll be much more how it happens. It is very much about the loudest voice gets the call. Attention to.
Thank you, Madam President. In regards to the suggestion that was just made by the member opposite, I'm questioning whether his concern is for the economy or for the environment. Because if we are in one hand developing nuclear energy, but in the other we are still sending coal and the like overseas, how is that making any ground on the issue of the environment?
If the member wishes to speak, then the member should stand and seek the call. The member hasn't got the call, so I'm not giving you the call. The member should sit. The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Dylan Capehorn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Dylan Capehorn. I asked the Honourable Member for South West. You said that renewable energy will be available now after research. How long is this research?
It's not a place. Sorry, I'll stand. It's not a place to put questions. If you want to put submissions, then you put submissions as to that. If the member wishes to seek the call or the member wishes to do an interjection, that is the way to do it. So when the member for South West was standing, if you had a question, you seek an interjection. What you say to her is, will you take an interjection? Then she can accept your interjection for a question. This is not a place for questions across the floor. It is a place for debate, not questioning. If you have a debate about that particular issue, in the fact that you disagree, then you bring evidence to that and you bring evidence to fore. The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan, the Honourable Luke Ellery.
In reply to the Honourable Member on opposite, It is a matter of both the economy and the environment. The fact is, we have the resources, the technology and the research to meet nuclear power. Underdeveloped economies do not have the means, the will, the way to use nuclear power. We hope that likewise they will take a step in the direction of nuclear power in the future, but we acknowledge that they will still need coal. Australia does have the means to use nuclear power, and it would be a waste not to do so.
The question is the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Sophie Burke.
Madam Speaker, President, Honourable Sophie Burke. What my honourable member, the honourable member has stated that solar power would be better and more effective. Well, what about weather conditions? Like, you can only harvest solar power during the day. So do you think that with 15 years of research, you're going to be able to harvest as much energy as you would with nuclear fusion in just the daytime and sunny days?
Member, can I just... I am giving latitude. It's about debate, not question. If the member wishes to take the question, then the member should stand on the floor and not speak across the floor. The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for East Metropolitan, Vlada Lemek.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Vlada Lemek. The Honourable Member for North Metropolitan brought up an interesting point about, power. Well, I went to Carnarvon, and there is a wind farm up there which provides roughly about 15 to 20% of that town, a small town like Carnarvon, their electricity. The rest, the 80% is diesel turbines, and there's just no way around that unless you expand it, but there's no money to go into that, and quite frankly, for a town like that, well, look, I mean, you're going to have nuclear research for major urban centres like Perth. They're not going to be in Perth. You're not going to see a nuclear power plant across the river. It's going to be, I mean, we have power lines. We can transport electricity. It's a very exact science. We can't just rely on, we can't say, wind or solar. These are only 10 to 15% efficient at the moment. The research that has to go into that could last who knows how many years. People have brought up that it'll be soon, but we just don't know. The technology isn't there.
Excuse me, Member. The Member for South West, I understand that this is a passionate debate. I hold this as a very passionate issue for myself as well. However, and I have enjoyed the debate so far. However, if you wish to make further comment, then you should seek the call and hold your interjections, unless the member wishes to accept your interjections. The way to do that is to say, will you accept my interjections? Thank you. Member for East Metropolitan.
I'll just wrap up quickly. Look, we have nuclear power. Again, I'm reiterating, it's viable economically in terms of the output. We need something now. Again, there is no possible rationale to depend on fossil fuels and foreign oil.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for East Metropolitan, the Honourable Georgia O'Keefe.
Madam President, the Honourable Georgia O'Keefe. Renewable energy is not the now. It needs to be further researched. Currently, it is expensive and unviable. Nuclear power is a quick fix. It needs to be put in place because if we wait for research to be done while continuing to use coal, we are ruining the environment further, and that is the last thing that we all want.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for Mining and Pastoral, the Honourable Rachel Moles.
Madam President, the Honourable Rachel Moles. Australia was one of the last developed countries to sign Kyoto, so why should we be one of the last developed countries to take on nuclear energy?
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Member for South Metropolitan, the Honourable Elizabeth
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Elizabeth Shannon. The Honourable Member for the South West raised an interesting point that nuclear energy is not viable for at least 15 years. Given that we can't actually implement a nuclear power plant for at least 15 years, is it actually a viable alternative to greenhouse gases when there is existing research available for these?
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Amy Leathersuch.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Amy Leathersich. Referring to what the Honourable Member opposite just said, saying how, and on what Honourable Tamianne Caldwell said earlier, that renewable, like solar and wind stuff, are available now, or more available so than nuclear. 70% of the world's resources go to first world countries, and we are one of them, and we consume a lot of energy. So for power like solar and wind that's not yet efficient enough, how do you think that would support a country that uses so much energy every day? We just use so much that we need something that we can harvest more easily. We can use it now. We can use nuclear probably quicker, and it would be more efficient quicker than solar or wind would be.
Question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for East Metropolitan. East Metropolitan.
Madam President, the Honourable Lou Kellery. I'd like to just put on the table that the fact is we do have figures for the nuclear power plant. We know. I'd also like to question and seek the call from Tamianne, where is a figure of 15 years for a nuclear power plant from?
Yourself, your own side.
If this call is sought, you should sit, and the member for Southwest could seek the call.
Is she seeking the call?
She doesn't have to, in fact. The Honourable Member Southwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam President. The Honourable Tamianne Caldwell. The figure of 15 years is actually in the facts that are provided by the people, honourable members in this room, who are supporting nuclear power, to say that it can only be ready in 15 years. I have my own facts which say Albany, where I live, has a population of approximately 33,000, and the wind farm down there, which is, I think it might be 10 or 15 at the most, wind turbines, which are out of sight and near the coast, currently contribute 30% to our electricity. So there is no reason why in 15 years, instead of wasting the money to research nuclear energy, which is dangerous, has a radioactive thing, it is not renewable forever, like natural is, why we shouldn't simply spend the money and the time on researching this thing we already have in place, that already works and it is efficient, is clean, is safe, is renewable and is natural.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable and the Member for East Metropolitan.
Madam President, Honourable Lou Kellery, the fact is 30% of Albany's power is not 100% of Western Australia's power.
Not yet.
It is not viable, and that is the fact. It is not yet. Now, presuming that the figure of 15 years is accurate for a nuclear power plant, then we have the guarantee that in 15 years we will have power. Research cannot have figures. We cannot say in 20 years renewable energy sources will be 100% efficient. We cannot put figures on that. I trust the figures. I trust in 15 years that future generations of Australia can look forward to nuclear power as a mid-term solution and look forward to, in the future, of renewable energy sources as a power solution.
If we don't blow ourselves
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for South West, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Lewis Richards. The Child Protection Minister correctly states that environmentally friendly alternatives are available, and it's true. However, they are not ready at the current time to be the main force of the replacement for coal and fossil fuels. It is the future. Renewable energy such as solar, geothermal and wind is the future. However, they are not viable at the current moment to produce at the current of what nuclear power can do. Now, the Child Protection Minister also injected with a statement that maybe we are smarter than the likes of Czech Republic and other nations which have nuclear power, and that we're smarter, so we can think, we might not do it. But she's willing to use their advice in things like castration. Now, the key is what we can use in the current moment to satisfy the...
Sorry, Member, that was probably unparliamentary, and you might want to withdraw.
Right. The key, so back on the statement, the key is what can we use in the current moment for the midterm, 15 to 20 years, to satisfy the electrical needs of the WA people. The rational answer, and the most one, is nuclear power.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for North Metropolitan.
Thanks, Madam President. Honourable Sophie Burke. Just putting this on the table, what happens if we do endeavour into these 15 years of research and it flops? What happens if the renewable power, isn't as effective as, say, nuclear power would be?
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for the South West.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tamianne Caldwell. I know that natural renewable energy sources are not 100% effective to contribute 100% of the state's electricity, but we can't have nuclear at the current moment, as the Honourable Member on the opposition said. And so we can't have the nuclear right now, we can't have it for 15 years, but we have got the renewable sources of energy working right now, and if we put the money into increasing them and improving them, then we easily could be able to improve them to be able to produce 100% of the state's electricity.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Honourable Member for East Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Adela Make. We've had renewable resources for a good decade now, and in all that time we've gotten from maybe 5-10% to 15-20% efficiency. That's 5-10 years of research, and your the suggestion is that in the next 15 years it's going to be 100% efficient. How? I mean, if we look over a decade, it's only been able to rise by 5-10%. I mean, if we look at it in a linear fashion, it's going to take half a century to get to 100% efficiency. By that time, we're going to have nuclear fusion, which is, some say the holy grail of electricity production. But we're not there yet. In the 15 years, we could have up and running commissioned power plants to produce the energy that, quite frankly, we're running out of.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. Good, well done. The Member for North Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Amy Leathersich. The problem with renewable energy is that we don't know that it will ever be 100%, but we know, science can tell us how much energy is released through nuclear fission, how much energy we can get from that. And from the statistics that we have of our current energy use as a country, we know that if we can get nuclear fission to work, that it produces enough energy to support us. But even in 1,000 years, renewable energy, we can't know that it will ever be fully accessible and it will ever be enough to support Australia and the other countries' needs.
Question. I haven't put the question yet. Sit down.
What?
The question is that the matter be agreed to.
Madam President.
I call the Member for South West unbiased.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tamianne Caldwell. I know about what you're saying, that in the last 10 years, the percentage has only gone up, say, whatever 5% your figure was. But I think this is because, it has increased. You can't deny that. It has become more effective over these last 10 years or whatever since we've been using it. And I think the reason it hasn't increased in effectiveness to such an extent that it seems likely in the next 15 years it could be 100% effective is because up until now this debate hasn't really been had. We haven't had a government initiative that says the money and time will be put onto renewable energy research. And if that was to be made, rather than just, we'll put it into coal, we'll talk about nuclear, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about things, if they actually put an initiative in there and said, yes, this is what we're going to do, and did it, then they would have much more time, much more effort, many more resources, many more people researching it, and then I believe that the percentage that the effectiveness would increase by would increase dramatically, and so that in 15 years we may be able to have 90 to 100% easily.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The Member for East Metropolitan.
Madam President, the Honourable Luke Ellery. If I was to go buy a washing machine, one thing that I would look for, it's to do with it, is a warranty, a guarantee. Nuclear power has that guarantee. Nuclear power can guarantee in 15 years that you will have that power. Renewable energy sources are a wild card. There is no guarantee. We do not know that in 15 years that renewable energy sources will outweigh nuclear power. We do know nuclear power outweighs renewable energy sources. I therefore put the question to the Honourable Member.
No, I'm sorry, Member. We've been going back and forth with the questions. You might want to just put the argument and then the member can argue it for you. So you put your argument and then the member can seek the call.
The argument is that you cannot put a figure on how efficient that renewable energies can be, and you cannot put a figure or a guarantee that in 15 years renewable energy sources will outweigh the benefits of nuclear power.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for South West.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy Caldwell. The people here in this room that are advocating for nuclear power cannot guarantee that we won't have another Chernobyl, that there will not be any problems with the radioactive waste, that putting it in the desert in concrete things or petrifying it with the CSIRO techniques won't lead to any danger, and that we won't fill up our desert so much and make it so poisonous that one day it might explode or one day we might not be able to live there. You cannot guarantee that. What I can guarantee is that renewable resources do work. They are currently in place across this country, and if we did research them, the effectiveness could improve because the effectiveness has been improving since they first invented them.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan and the Leader of the Government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Dylan Capehorn. I'd like to point out to the Honourable Member from South West that she says that we're ready now. Let's go for it. Let's get a wind farm in Perth, and yet we still need research.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for South West. The member for South West, the Honourable Michael Bovell.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Michael Bovell. I thank the Honourable Leader of the Government for pointing out the dangers of nuclear power and waste by risk of mutation of human beings by way of three-eyed babies. And I also ask the Honourable Members who support this MPI that nuclear power has taken over 60 years to develop to a stage now where there is still no long-term solution to nuclear waste storage, and it is still highly dangerous. The issue here is not about nuclear power. The public are not concerned about energy. They are concerned about the services that energy provides. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. Yes, I give you the call. Member for East Metropolitan, I did hear your voice. The Honourable Lou Kellery.
Madam President, the Honourable Lou Kellery. The fact is the government can guarantee there will be no nuclear explosion, no problems with waste, provided that we meet the set international guidelines. If workers abide, the facts are sitting in France, in Czechoslovakia, in every nation that is currently using nuclear power, that has abided by the international laws and has not had an explosion. If you abide by the safety regulations, you can guarantee.
The member has the floor. If you've got a point of order, do you have a point of order?
Allowed to interject?
If you interject from your seat.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, do I? Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
You interject from your seat. And
Am I being called into order?
No, you're not being called into order. I'll stand if it was a point of order. You can interject from your seat if the honourable member accepts your interjections, and you can interject until such time as
okay, so that's
disorderly.
Not, that's, okay, sure.
Continue, the honourable member.
No, actually, I forgot where I was at.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The honourable member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Gemma Lee.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Gemma Lee. I'd like to point out that it's not a long-term solution. The opposition have put it as a long-term solution. We're not thinking of it to be there in 50 years. In 50 years, hopefully, we will have renewable energy sources. But at the moment, we need something else than fossil fuels.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. If not, I'll put the motion. Yes, okay. The question is the Honourable Member for South Metropolitan, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Lewis Richards. I think what people are getting in their heads is that if we use one certain type of energy source for electricity, that's the only way. Even currently at the moment, coal is not the whole 100% of the thing. There are other, even nuclear power is used, even renewable energy stored. We're not saying that the whole of the system, the whole 100%, Madam President, is going to be nuclear power. We're saying we want it to develop so the opportunity for renewable sources to be the best, the majority of the percentage, while it can be with other efficient and more productive ways such as nuclear power to be there as well. Thank you.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. The member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Sophie Burke.
Thank you, Madam President. Honourable Sophie Burke. On Rottnest Island, there is a wind turbine that contributes to 1/3 of the island's energy. So why not put 3 of them on there? Makes sense, doesn't it? But because it's not a reliable source, they don't put on 3. It's not an economic advantage to put 3 on because it won't provide 100% of the energy. Chernobyl was caused by human error, and yes, the government cannot 100% guarantee that nuclear power is going to be safe. But after the massive tragedy of Chernobyl, 20 years has gone into creating it as safe as possible. So the government can guarantee this.
The question is that the matter be agreed to. I'll put the motion. The question is that the West Australian YMCA Youth Parliament agree that, the motion being that the Government of Western Australia support the development of the nuclear material industry in Western Australia. I haven't got to that yet, sorry. Agree that, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. If those against say no. I declare the motion carried. Is there a division? No division? Okay. I actually have it here that you will divide, but on that... I'll call a division. Lock the doors. So, you ring the bells and you cross the floor. Those on my right are the ayes, those on the left for the nays. I appoint as teller for the ayes the Honourable, who's the teller for the ayes? The whips? Thanks. What happens if the whips are on both same sides? You've got a bit of a problem there. The teller for the ayes. Can I have Joshua as the teller for the ayes? And the teller for the noes is Lauren Goodhart. Okay. Has the doors been locked? Okay. Teller, you need to count the votes and give them to the clerks. And then tell me.
Can I just add quickly, all members have to sit down, otherwise you're counted.
You can't be counted standing up, but I'm happy for you to keep standing.
Because otherwise you're counted as abstaining if you stand. Except for the teller.
You can sit on the corner of a chair. That is allowed. Yeah, like that. That's what they do. But anyway, sit to... Yeah. It's sort of how they sit too, with such a... Yes. Okay, you need to tell your clerk what the vote is, and then you tell me, the clerks tell me. Okay, the result of the division is the ayes 13 and the noes 7. The ayes have it, and the members can resume their seats. Questions?
You can make a personal statement about the issue if you want.
A personal statement of the issue. I've been told I can make a personal statement of the issue. I thought it was really interesting that you missed the question. The actual motion wasn't about nuclear power. It was actually about development of a nuclear materials industry in Western Australia. All of the reports have shown that the only thing that the current government are looking at is actually mining of uranium in Western Australia, where there is no necessity for any nuclear power in Western Australia. We have enough resources for power in Western Australia to last us for the next 50 to 60 years, as I understand. The question is about uranium mining. And a number of questions go around that. There are current uranium mines in Australia, and so there's that whole question about why Western Australia is quarantined from that. The arguments on the other side are about the health and safety aspects of uranium mining. The fact of that means that we then become uranium mining exports and all of the risks that go with that because of global terrorism and the fact that uranium waste ends up as a part of that cycle. And there are obviously national treaties about that, many people who aren't signatories to. It's also a question of the viability of those mines. And can I say, I had a little press release in my head that one of my backgrounds is in the superannuation industry, and there is no doubt that the uranium lobby have had a really large push into this space because there is massive amounts of money invested in uranium mining and the whole future of uranium. Always be aware that when you get a lot of the statistics, it's a bit like smoking and asbestos and those sort of things. Have a look at why they're doing that. Can I just say that I have a very, very strong anti-uranium position, so I come from a very particular bias. And the West Australian Labor Party, can I say, which is where I come from, have a very strong anti-uranium position, and I'm very proud of that. Not necessarily so proud of the federal position. I was there at the federal conference when it went down. Okay, we're on to question time. So I'm happy to keep presiding in question time. Leader of the Opposition.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I move that in accordance with Section 15 on the Standing Orders of the Youth Parliament of Western Australia that the House move to question time.
The House will move to question time in accordance with Section 15 of the Standing Orders. Leader of the Opposition.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Speaker, Madam President.
Yes, right.
The Honourable Lewis Richards. My question to the Premier, the Leader of the Government. The Child Protection Paedophile Castration Bill 2009 is not gender neutral. There are cases of sex offences to children caused by a female. In fact, roughly 1 in 20, that's 5%, are caused by females. Does the Leader of the Government, 1, recognise that females do sexually assault children, and 2, if so, why is there no measures to combat this 1 in 20 risk in the bill?
The Leader of Government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Dylan Capehorn, and I thank the Honourable Member opposite for his question. However, I would like to refer the question to the Minister for Child Protection, who can more accurately define your answer.
The Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. 1 in 20 sex offenders are women. Hasn't the Honourable Member of the Opposition been told Wikipedia is not a reliable source? This is the most spontaneous, falsified statistic I have ever seen. It's rubbish. I read the entire 104 pages of the Australian Bureau of Statistics Sexual Assault Statistical Overview and at least 50 websites and articles in their entirety, the Australian Institute of Criminology and the Australian Prison Statistics data. And all of them say that since 1994, 96 to 99% of sex offenders are male. It's an indisputable fact. So where in the world you got... Yes, let me finish. There are still... So I will ask you which statistics you will believe. We know that the bill is not...
The Minister has the floor.
We know the bill is not gender neutral. This is because the crime of sex offences is not gender neutral. This castration bill was written to protect children, hence the Child Protection Committee. It allows for pedophiles to be released safely into the community with no chance of reoffending, and it reflects the dreadful facts of the number of sex offenders who reoffend, 99% of which are male. Even if we did cut out women's ovaries, as the Honourable Opposition has opposed in the amendments, it would do nothing, because this is not where women get their sex drive from, as males do from the testosterone in their testicles. And a woman's sex drive is not what makes this 1% of sex offenders offend. There is no way as yet to stop women sexually offending, but I will remind you that 99% of sex offenders are male. It is better to save and protect 96 to 99% of children than save none. Think about that.
Any more questions? Supplementary?
This is actually, I'll pass it to you if you want to pass on. Oh, it has to be to the...
In fact, you can't really usually pass it on, but once the question was passed on, it has to go back to the, to the answer.
Then I'll sit down because...
it's okay, do it anyway.
Sorry.
Yep. No, supplementary, please.
Yeah, my supplementary was, it's not a personal attack and I apologise, but the leader of the government, as I've done with many bills myself, is try to research as much as I can so I can back the things. My question is to you, the leader of the government. So you recognise that females do sexually assault, and you say that according to the statistics, 96 to 99%, which is 1 to 4%, not the 5% we do. We apologise, but it's still a significant amount. So why isn't there any measures? Because it does happen, and it's there in the statistics.
The leader of the government.
I don't think I'll refer it. I'll take this one in the chest. Madam President, the Honourable Dylan Capelman. I thank the honourable member opposite for his question. I'm doing this in a higgledy-piggledy sort of way. We do recognise that there is 4 to 1% of female sex offenders. However, it must be noted that this bill protects the 99% that are assaulted by males. I'm not condoling, honourable member opposite, that females go out and sex offend children.
The member for South West.
Thank you.
Any more questions? The member for North Metropolitan.
The Honourable Madam Speaker, Madam President, the Honourable Christine Hampton Prime. My question is to the Minister for Child Protection. Could the Minister please sufficiently explain the difference between a child sex offender and a pedophile, and also the confusion of the interpretation of these within the bill?
The Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. I thank the Honourable Member for her question. I will certainly clear up the opposition's apparent confusion. Pedophile or child molester is generally a person who sexually offends children, but neither term is now used in the Criminal Code, which is why throughout the entire bill only the term sex offender is used. Pedophile is simply, so as not to cause confusion, used once in the short title, not the long title of the bill. This is because the community knows what a pedophile generally is, and it is for this reason that the term is used. I have the floor.
The member has the floor.
And it is for this reason that the term is used only once in the title of the bill, since this is the title that will be quoted in the media and that the public will hear. I will read from the Criminal Code. A sex offender, the term used throughout the entire bill, is a person who sexually penetrates a child, procures, incites or encourages a child to engage in sexual behaviour, and indecently records a child in either of those situations. These are sick men who either can't or don't want to stop molesting children and babies. And castration will stop these men wanting to do this and will therefore protect children and babies, our future, our innocent future, who never deserve to be molested by pedophiles. You cannot disagree with that.
Any more questions? Supplementary.
My supplementary question, the Honourable Christine Prime, Madam President.
Keep going.
My question is, my supplementary is to the Minister for Child Protection. A pedophile is a medical definition.
Say, supplementary should never be read. Supplementary should come from the question.
Okay. A pedophile is a medical definition and a sexual urge, about a sexual urge.
The Minister.
Can you please clear the question?
Yeah.
From the same person?
Yeah, supplementary. Can you ask the question again?
A pedophile is a medical definition about sexual urges, so it's different between a sex offender.
Minister for Child Protection.
Yeah.
Madam President, the Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell, I thank the Honourable Member for her question. I'm a bit confused about what she means, but you don't judge a book by its cover sort of thing. This is the title to be quoted in the public and the media and that sort of thing. The actual long title and the exact... long title.
The member has the floor.
The public will not get confused because the public knows. If you were to ask any person or most people in the public what a pedophile was, they'd say a person who sexually abuses children, and that's what.
The member has the floor. The leader for the opposition, you are warned.
That is the definition of general knowledge in the community, but I will remind you, it is the short title of the bill, and if you read the exact wording of the bill, it is never mentioned once. Only the word that is used in the criminal code, sex offender, is ever used in the actual bill. Long title, the whole bill, except for the short title, when it's called the Pedophile Castration Bill.
Any more questions? You should yell. Oh, well done. Member for North Metropolitan, Sophie Burke.
Sorry to direct another question at you, Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell, but I'm guessing that the main reason people are against castration is because it sounds so...
Member, your questions have to be a question. They cannot be something you can put as a proposition.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Why are the current measures in place for repeat child offenders inadequate? Why do you want castration instead of the ones that we've got now?
The Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. I thank the Honourable Member for her question. The answer is imprisonment and rehabilitation do not work. And the longer we bury our heads in the sand and lie and say they do, the more children we put at risk. This is not acceptable. The Australian Institute of Criminology said pedophiles had the highest rate of sexual reoffending and that pedophiles are usually long-term repeat offenders. A New Zealand MP, Mark Alexander, has done considerable research and considerable writing on sexual recidivism or reoffending. He says sex offenders are the most difficult to rehabilitate and attempted rehabilitation should not be relied upon to ensure the public safety, the safety of these little kids. A 25-year British study, 25-year study, published in the Law and Human Behaviour Journal, found over half of released child molesters committed sexual offences after being released, and 75% of pedophiles register new offences post-release. Jeffrey Hilsey was jailed twice for child sex offences. He was released from prison and within 2 years he repeatedly sexually assaulted a 10-year-old girl. Lloyd McIntosh was an offender who raped a 6-year-old, was jailed, released, then within 3 months he brutally raped a 23-month-old baby girl. William Thomas Clare, the list goes on, was jailed for sex offences, then released, and he raped and killed a 3-year-old boy and filmed himself raping the boy's 6-year-old sister. In 2008, he had his non-parole period cut by 3 years. What do you think will happen when he gets out? Castration will work. Imprisonment and rehabilitation do not work. Throughout the day, I will show you plenty of facts that make this fact indisputable. Castration, chemical castration, has had 100% effectiveness in European countries, according to the New England Journal of Medicine. So there shouldn't be any need for surgical castration because there shouldn't actually be any second offences. But if they are, and the chemical castration doesn't work on this certain person, surgical castration will be done and has absolutely stunning results to prevent reoffending in many other countries, which I will cover later.
Any other questions? The member for Mining and Pastoral.
Madam President, the Honourable Rachel Moles. My question is to the Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell, Minister for Child Protection. How will the bill deal with individuals who, after having been convicted of a child sex offence and been subjected to chemical castration and are later found innocent?
The Minister for Child Protection.
Madam President, thank you. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. Chemical castration is a painless monthly injection in the arm to balance the hormones and testosterone. Read the medical journals if you want your facts. To radically suppress the sex drive. It is easily reversible by simply stopping the injections. Pedophiles, sexual offenders, are given 3 months after sentencing and being found guilty for an appeal to be lodged, and only if within those 3 months an appeal is not lodged will they be castrated. If they happen to be found innocent later on, the injections will simply be stopped. They are hardly likely to be actually found innocent after their second time of being found guilty. Our justice system is better than that, but our sentences are not. Indeed, only 25% of alleged and reported sex offenders, 25%, are actually taken to court. 80% of these are found guilty. So there's little or no chance of this 80% actually being innocent. This argument is like saying we can't put people in jail or rehabilitation or any punishment if they are found guilty in a court just in case they're innocent. That defies the whole basis of our court and justice system. Any compensation claims would be, as per normal, under WA law, no different. But castration, and I ask you to remember this, castration would actually save millions of dollars because if it works as it has elsewhere, up to 100% effective, supervision costs for released pedophiles in the community, which are $50,000 each a year, that's $2 million in 1 year, would not be required. And this money could then be spent on other child protection measures. The Australian Bureau of Statistics Sexual Assault Statistical Overview 2004 reported, and this is important, they reported no sex offenders who have been found guilty and sentenced in WA have been later found not guilty. Not one. None.
Any more questions? The member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Gemma.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Gemma. My question is directed at the Shadow Minister for Health, the Honourable Michael Bovell. How does the opposition expect an already stretched public health system plagued by issues of limited funding and a lack of available staff to operationalise mandatory organ donation in a competent and effective manner?
The Honourable Michael Bovell, member for South West.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Michael Bovell. I thank the Honourable Member for their question. The savings to the cost of health after the implementation of this bill will be enormous. Kidney dialysis costs $50,000 a year, while also being very health labour intensive, consistently taking up beds in hospitals and medical practitioners' time on an ongoing basis. A kidney transplant operation costs $15,000 and $20,000 in ongoing costs per annum. This will not only lead to, organ donation will not only lead to positive social outcomes for recipients of transplants, these people will be able to recontribute to the economy, leading to decreased health costs and increased taxation revenues. This will more than offset the costs associated with this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Any more questions? The member for South West, the Honourable Ian Garlett.
My question is, Madam President, the Honourable Ian Garlett. My question is directed to the Leader of the Government. Could the Leader please explain the lack of focus on preventative provisions in the Child Protection Bill in terms of a highly reckless and reactionary bill?
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Dylan Capehorn, and I thank the Honourable Member for his question. And once again, I would like to refer this question to my Child Protection Minister.
If the question is asked to you, Leader, then you actually answer the question. It is very unusual in the House to have it referred. The way that has been answered, and there have been many times that is a controversial issue for the current Premier, not of this House, is that the Premier points out that it is a responsibility of another minister and isn't in the position to answer, and then sits down. In this case, because we are role-playing a bit, I'm happy to let that happen. But people need to know if they're going to ask a question, they should ask it to the minister. The Leader of the Government actually should know all of the bills and material from government, and usually does answer many questions, but on this case I'll let it proceed.
I'll take the question.
Okay.
Am I allowed to hear it again?
Yes. Can the member ask it again? Member for South West, the Honourable Ian Garlett, can you ask the question again?
Yeah. Madam President, the Honourable Ian Garlett, my question is directed to the Leader of the Government. Could the Leader please explain the lack of focus on preventative provisions in the Child Protection Bill in terms of a highly reckless and reactionary bill?
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you,
the Leader of the Government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Dylan Capehorn, and I thank the Honourable Member once again for repeating the question. The bill itself states in the explanatory memorandum that there has been studies done in the Czech Republic where 4 pedophiles themselves said that they would not reconvict after they had been castrated. This survey can prove, and I disagree with the fact that it's a highly reckless bill. This is children's lives you are putting on the line. It is preventative, Ms. Member opposite, due to the fact that it deters other criminals from going ahead and assaulting. We don't have those facts.
Member for East Metropolitan. Member for East Metropolitan. The Leader of the Government has the floor.
Thank you. That's it.
Oh, the Leader of the Government is finished. More questions? The Member for North Metropolitan, the Honourable Amy Leathersich. Did I say no?
Addressing the mandatory organ donation bill, what procedures...
Who's your question to?
I'm questioning Shadow Minister of the Opposition, Michael Bovell. What procedures will be put in place to deal with the situation when available organs exceed the demand for organ donation?
The Honourable Michael Bovell, Member for South West.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Michael Bovell. I thank the Honourable Member for their question, and I also wish to thank the Honourable Government for having such a positive faith in the increased amount of organs that will be donated after the implementation of this bill, of the opposition's bill. Madam President, I refer to Part 3, Section 2A of the West Australian Organ Donation Authority's powers, management of waiting lists. This provision will ensure that in a situation where supply exceeds demand, transplant coordinators will have access to the latest information in regards to the demand for organs. If there is no requirement for a donation to take place, this will not occur. Thank you, Madam President.
Any more questions? The Member for South Metropolitan, the Honourable Lauren Goodhart.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Lauren Goodhart. This question is directed at the Child Protection Minister. What compensation does the Minister suggest for someone who has been wrongly convicted and castrated?
The Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy Caldwell. We suggest little chance of there being any, for wrongly convicted and castrated sex offenders be treated just the same as compensation claims for any other wrong convictions under WA law. The point to be reinforced is that chemical castration is reversible easily by just stopping the monthly injection in the arm. The new chemical being used in Europe for castration has few side effects except some possible fatigue. And chemical castration works. It is a shame what pedophiles do, yes. And chemical castration works. It has taken reoffending rates from over 50% to below 5% in many European countries and US states. And this new chemical, triptorelin, has had 100% success rates to stop all reoffences. This saves all these children from being molested. And on another point, this bill isn't reactionary and reckless. It's well researched. It's very thorough and it's careful, and the whole point of it is to protect children. And I really hope that the opposition here in this WA Parliament does not think that protecting children from rape and molestation is reckless. It is based on years and years of data and studies from across the world, from all different countries. It is to prevent the terribly high rate of sexual offender recidivism and to save a high number of children who have their innocence stolen and their life ruined by repeat sex offenders after they've been released. It's not a reactionary bill. And it is also a very preventative bill because, I mean, we can't go around castrating every man just in case he raped someone. But he has to do it once in order to be castrated. That's quite logical. But it is a preventative bill because it prevents all these other children which get assaulted after these repeat sex offenders have been released, which is a proven fact, from being sexually assaulted. And it is also, you must remember, a child protection bill. This bill is to protect children. It works better than any rehabilitation bill. It protects the children. It allows the pedophiles to be released into society with no chance of reoffending so they can live a normal life without putting children at risk. This bill protects children. Any decent human being has to agree this is important.
Supplementary. Who asked the original question? Yeah, you can't do a supplementary. Sorry, any more questions? Question, the member for North Metropolitan, Leader of the Government.
Madam President, the Honourable Dylan Capel, my question is to the Leader of the Opposition. In regards to the organ donation, the Human Tissue and Organ Transplant Bill 2009, you say that every person who dies eventually has their organs removed. What is the case with a person weighing 200 kilos, smoked, drank and taken drugs all his life with an absolutely hopeless liver? What do you plan to do with the organs in that case?
The member for South Metropolitan, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam President. The Honourable Lewis Richards. I refer to the Western Australian Organ Donation Authority. One of these clauses, I don't know the exact clause in the bill, actually states that they will register and officiate the organ donation. So if there are cases where there, for example, a 200 kilo man who has liver's been destroyed, they will assess it and will look at the circumstances of the person and will decide that if the livers or the organs or the special tissues are sufficient for donation.
Here.
Supplementary.
So in that case, so they do not remove the organs in that case. They just, so therefore it's not a mandatory system.
Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much. The register, I think, from the actual thing, I don't have from exact memory, it's not the first thing. The moment the person dies, the mandatory sense is not for the fact that they're going to chop them up straight away. They're going to research it and go, are their organs sufficient and good enough to be donated? If they are, then they'll be mandatory cut out. If they're not, they'll give them to the person and to the person's family, where they can dignified, put it away by ashes or buried in any certain way they find possible.
Any other questions? The member for North Metropolitan, Deputy Leader of Government.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Jamali. My question is directed at the Shadow Health Minister. In the bill, there is no means of when organ donating, you can choose which organs to be donated. How can such a person choose? If they're just registering, how can they choose whether they want to donate their eyes, their skin, their liver, etc.?
The member for South West, the Honourable Michael Bovell. Member.
Thank you, Madam President. There is a provision in Part 2, Section 5, Section 5A, a record may be kept of exact tissues to be removed and use of these tissues to be limited by notice of intent. So this would allow a individual to nominate which organs can be donated and which ones they are refusing to donate.
Any more questions? Yes. Any more questions? The member for South West and the Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tamianne Caldwell. I will direct my question to the Honourable Health Minister. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition said that they would check the organs in a person who has deceased and see if they're healthy enough to be transplanted, and if they're not, they won't be transplanted, as in the case with a man whose liver is ruined. So this removing of the organs and then checking them to see if they're healthy enough requires much time and money and resources from the already overstretched and underfunded health system and nurses and doctors. How does the opposition answer the question that how do they explain that this is worthy of spending lots and lots of money and time putting these overstretched nurses and surgeons to check if these organs are healthy, and if they're not, then they won't be transplanted?
This is question time. This is not for you to debate it. Can you put very succinctly your question?
How does the opposition answer the question? Does the opposition think it is right and viable to spend lots of time, money and resources of the overstretched nurses and doctor system.
Member, that's not the question. Put the question.
How does the opposition think it is right to make the overstretched health system spend time and money on checking the organs and seeing if they're healthy enough to be transplanted if they don't use them?
Member for South West, the Honourable Michael Bovell.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Michael Bovell. I thank the Honourable Member for Child Protection for her question. Costs associated in this bill will definitely be offset by the savings made by donation of organs to the health. Cost of health will be dramatically decreased. This will free up time for hospitals, for beds, for doctors and medical practitioners to spend more time to analyse whether or not a organ is suitable for transplant. As I was asked in an earlier question before, and I'll restate this, is that the people that receive organ transplantations...
Member, can I just say, in question time,
yes,
as the person who's answering the question,
yep,
you would be shouted down at this point in time from reading from your notes. It would be, and you would have a point of order against you. There is some leniency with that, but the expectation is, if you're going to answer a question on a bill that you're going to introduce, is that you will have an understanding so that you can answer the question on the floor.
Sure. The increased tax revenue by the person receiving a donation will be able to create will more than offset, and probably even it will increase the amount of funding available to the health system.
Any more questions? The member for East Metropolitan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Viola will make. This question is directed at the Minister for Child Protection. What is your plan, or what is your plan of action for women offenders?
Member, you've asked this question. You can't ask a question twice in a thing. I'll give that question. The member for Child Protection. I'll give it. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. I thank the Honourable Member for his question. As I have already said, there is at the moment no method in place to castrate or to stop women sex offenders. It's not my fault, sexually offending. And therefore, since the 96 to 99% are male, this is what we're targeting. It's not a gender-neutral bill. We know that. It's simple, it's clear. The reason it's not is because the issue of sex offence on children or overall is not a gender-neutral issue. It is male-biased heavily, 96, 99%. I'm not saying that women sex offenders don't need to be punished, don't need to be stopped, we don't need to save kids from women sex offenders. At the moment, there is no way to do this. So you can't just say, don't do anything. We will put 100% of children at risk of being sexually offended because 1 to 4% of women do sexually offend, and therefore it's sexist, so we can't do it. If you pass this bill, we will be saving and protecting 99% of little babies and children from being sexually offended. It's that simple.
Any more questions? The member for South West, the Honourable Michael Bovell.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Michael Bovell. My question is for the Child Protection Minister. Can the Minister for Child Protection guarantee in 100% of circumstances that chemical or surgical castration will have absolutely no long-term health side effects leading to premature death of an offender? Effectively, a form of long-term capital punishment.
The member for South West, the Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. There has been so much medical research done in so many countries, European, Norway, Iceland. Yes, Queensland introduced chemical castration last year, so there is absolutely, yes, and that will never work, and I'll explain that later. There is absolutely no reason why it couldn't be passed in real life in this parliament. No reason whatsoever. Queensland's got it, US states have it, Norway has it, Poland has it, Iceland has it, Britain has it, Canada has it. So many things, and so much research has been done in all these countries. that chemical I was talking about that has had 100% effectiveness in Europe, triptolin, has no side effects except possible fatigue. And I really don't think that anyone here should give a damn, bluntly, whether a pedophile gets a bit of fatigue for his crime. Really. This is all about protection. This bill is not a punishment bill. I'm not on the Justice Committee. This is a child protection bill. The principle is we need to protect our children. It is a protection bill. I have showed you the facts. I mean, the facts are all here. I've been talking about them. Statistics, they've been proven from all these different places. The Australian Institute of Criminology, the prison statistics data, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Sexual Assault Statistical Overview 2004, websites, articles, Mark Alexander in New Zealand. How much more facts do you want?
Supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Michael Bovell. The Minister still has not answered the question fully. I'll ask the question again. Can the Minister for Child Protection guarantee in 100% of circumstances that chemical or surgical castration will have absolutely no long-term... Sorry.
Supplementaries are not read.
Oh.
Thank you. Ask your supplementary, but please don't read your question.
Some long-term side effects leading to a form of capital punishment.
The Minister for Child Protection.
President, I can guarantee that in all those countries I just mentioned, not once has there been any long-term effects or premature deaths from chemical or surgical castration. They've been in place for at least 50 years. But this new one has only been in place for about 5 or 10, I think. But the chemical castration, surgical castration overall has been about 50. The fact is, it has never had any long-time side effects, and the chemicals have improved and gotten not one, no. The chemicals have improved, the effectiveness has improved, and so has the lack of side effects, because it used to be a few more than just fatigue. With these new ones, that's it. There are no more. That's the fact, yes.
Any more questions? If not, let's see. Oh, yep. Question from Member for South West, the Honourable Michael Bovell.
Thank you, Madam President, the Honourable Michael Bovell. My question is again for the Minister for Child Protection. Can the Minister for Child Protection guarantee that there would not be one person surgically castrated who is not actually found to be innocent?
The Minister for Child Protection, Member for South West. I call you.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I can, because the first offence, I will explain my facts. The first offence, the sex offender has to be found guilty of a first offence, then they have 3 months for an appeal to be lodged. Only after those 3 months, if an appeal has not been lodged, will they be chemically castrated. This chemical castration is easily reversible with no long-term side effects at all in any of the years that it's been done. And so that will be stopped. If they commit a second sexual offence and are again found guilty, they are not going to be innocent after being surgically castrated, especially given that only 25% of reported and alleged sexual offenders are actually taken to court, because through loopholes in the system or whatever, they don't get taken to court. And those 25% that do get taken to court, 80% are found guilty. And as I explained, this is the thing you have to remember. The Australian Bureau of Statistics, Sexual Assault Statistical Overview 2004, reported that since 1994, not one sex offender who has been found guilty in WA under a WA court has been found not guilty afterwards. Not one.
Supplementary.
Minister confirm that in the future, not one person who has been surgically castrated be found to be innocent.
The Minister for Child Protection.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tamianne Caldwell. Can the Honourable Minister for Health guarantee that in the future another Chernobyl will not happen?
Minister. Point of order.
Look,
sit down, Minister. Sit down.
Relevance to the question, please.
Thank you.
this point in time. There's a point of order to the relevance to the question. The question's been asked. It's a very interesting question. I understand it has been asked previously of you, and I understand that you think you have explained it, but perhaps what you could do, and I would be interested to hear myself, if you could actually just directly answer the question that was put to you. Thank you, Minister. The Minister.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honourable Tammy-Ann Caldwell. The fact is, there is never going to be a guarantee whether we're not going to have another Chernobyl, whether we're not going to have another World War III or whatever. So I cannot guarantee 110% that a person who has been surgically castrated will not later on be found innocent. I am not wrong. No. Listen.
Minister,
you cannot...
Minister, can you sit down, please? Members, the Minister has the call. The Minister is answering your question. If you wish to ask another question, you can. There has been a number of questions on this. You will have ample opportunity today also to debate this question, as I understand. So the Minister has the call.
Whilst I cannot guarantee, of course, that there is a 110% chance that not one person that's been surgically castrated will be later found innocent, there is a very, very high likelihood that this will never happen. The point to be remembered is, are you saying that we shouldn't send a person to jail when they're found guilty of murder, guilty in a WA court under our justice system of murder, just in case they're actually innocent? That defies the whole system of our courts and our law and our justice system. If a person is found guilty, they get punished. This bill doesn't just punish them, it protects the children. You can't not send a person who is found guilty in a WA court to punishment, jail, counselling, whatever, just in case they're really innocent. It defies the whole system. The fact you also have to remember is that this bill protects children. It will protect 96 to 99% of children. So you're saying that for the sake of one person
Minister,
who may...
Can you take your seat? That's the end of question time. The time is now 12 and we break for lunch, as I understand.
Stand.
Yeah, you stand when I leave. Just very quickly before I leave, thank you very much for the opportunity. Does anyone want me to give you a couple of feedbacks about your questions? I'm happy to. Go for it. Question time is the most. It is the drama and the theatre of the whole Parliament. Other than that, you can sit there reasonably. It can be quite a prolonged and sometimes tiring experience. But question time is always animated. It is about the media. It is your time to get the grab as the opposition. Often it is varied. I understand you've only got a few bills, but you could have probably asked a few questions, perhaps about the economy to the government from the opposition. I don't know whether that was already, whether you had a set task. Can I just say, just with respect to Christine's question, her first question, which was a great question. Your supplementary, you missed the point. You missed the opportunity. Your killer line was, so you're saying you're using paedophilia purely for media purposes. This is just a beat up. This is not about protecting children. Because that's what this bill says. It uses paedophilia in the opening line, so it can use it to assuage a whole bunch of people's guilt, and then it talks about sex offenders in the other time. Now, if that's not being used for just for public opinion, then there's your killer line. So the other stuff is your lack of rehabilitation, which you could have cut into quite a bit more. So congratulations. Look, you're all pretty great to get up and speak anyway. I find the whole process, I was elected in September, I still, feel like going out and vomiting just before I have to get up and speak. So I don't, of course, clearly, because I'm very professional. But you've done very well, so have a good lunch.
All right, guys, just a second. You can sit down again. Kate has some points she wanted to make about your debating. Also, well done. Before we get into the things you can improve. Well done, guys.
Sorry? Do you want to say something? No, I just want to say the Assembly's adjourned, so...
Oh yeah, I'll be really quick, guys. You did really well. Just a few things. Parliamentary etiquette. Make sure that you're pretty much, if you read the rule book, go through that again. So you're not being rude to each other, not being aggressive, because I know there's some people who are really nervous about talking. So if you start yelling over them, obviously they're not going to want to talk. So if you know it's someone like Lewis, he can yell through him. But you know, just be careful where you do interjections and things, because some people that will crush them. Make sure it's not personal, because youth parliament's not a personal attack on everyone, and generally people are talking about stuff that might not actually be their entire passion. What else was I say? Can I just say the backbenchers getting a bit more passionate as well, because I just walked over to the Legislative Assembly and everyone's yelling shame and show us your facts and here, and they're all like really into it. So I'd like to see this house a bit more into it as well, okay? I know you're a little house, so maybe like put some 23 people. Go get lots of coffee maybe.
My first year we had 26 and it was way louder than you guys.
Yeah, so
maybe not on the first day, but the point is you can get there.
Yeah, go get a bit more enthusiastic.
Support your side.
Support your side. And oh yeah, and another thing is the video recording. If someone says something on this side, in the video recording you're not going to be able to hear it on that side. So if you answer that question, you just look like you're just not making any sense in the conversation.
Actually, also on the cameras, at least 3 of you walked in front of the cameras during that. So you need to be really careful about it. Don't get out of your seat unless you have to. That's what Kate's actually here for. Stick your hand up and she'll come grab a note and pass it around for you. Unless you're going to abuse that privilege, because she'll get annoyed.
I probably won't talk to you. Yeah, so other than that, you guys are really good. Try and bring each other together, try and make it really passionate and things like that.
It's been question time here. Yeah.
It's
you
fun.
can yell. And you can, and the trick is to be really baiting the person on the other side to the point where you get called. And once you've been called once, then you measure yourself and see if you can get called. Well, you don't try and get called, clearly, because that would be unparliamentary. But you know, there was a recent debate where someone was saying something particularly outrageous that I really got into. And I did get called 3 times, at which point you shut up. You know, you don't do anything bad for the rest of the day, because you know you will be in trouble. But you know, you can actually, if you have feeling strong about something, it's good fun. You know, that's the whole.
As long as we're not personal against any actual person.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be personal.
All right, guys, let's go to lunch.